I'm reusing this plastic jug and making it into a funnel and a tool holder. Jars for nuts, bolts, screws, nails. Reuse it for the future. It's worth it.
Reduce, reuse, recycle. It's worth it.
It is worth it.
Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn. Today's deck is kind of a facepalm. It's not something I really want to be playing, but it's crazy to me that nobody has tried this deck post-Kaldheim, specifically using the cards that I think bring it over the top. So, what are we doing? We're cycling. Yes, we're back to cycling. I like to call this deck recycling because we're doing it again. We thought it was dead. We thought it was over and done with. Kaldheim makes it better than it's ever been before. Before we jump in, give this video a like. Make sure to subscribe because we really need to grow the channel. We're driving hard to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. And leave me a comment, let me know if I'm crazy. But let's jump right into it. Alright, so this deck is pretty much as old as dirt. I'm not going to spend too much time going over the core essentials of the deck, because you should probably know it by now. But Kaldheim does add some key additions. One of them is very significant, and the other is kind of peripheral, so we'll take some time to go over that. But first off, the core of the deck revolves around Zenith Flare. Now, Zenith Flare is a 4-drop instant, deals X damage to any target, and you gain X life, where X is the number of cards with cycling in your graveyard. Now, almost everything in the deck cycles for 1. We have Flourishing Fox, we have Footfall Crater, we have Healer, we have Rescuer, Drannith Stinger, Startling Development, Go for Blood, Memory Leak, Boon of the Wishgiver, Frostveil Ambush. Everything cycles for 1. Well, with the exception of Valiant Rescuer, that cycles for 2. But what we want to do is, earlier in the game, try to get down either a Flourishing Fox or a Valiant Rescuer, or if we don't have one of those, get down maybe a Drannith Healer or a Drannith Stinger. And then the rest of our cards we want to devote entirely to cycling. We want to cycle through the deck as quickly as possible. The only reason we want one of those creatures in play is because it really helps gum up the board for the opponent, and if we can make the opponent have to waste an extra turn or two dealing with our board position, that gives us an extra turn or two to get to our win with Zenith Flare. So we want to drop one, you know, we want to potentially build wide with Rescuer or build tall with Fox so that we can buy ourselves a couple extra turns over the course of the game. But most of the time, we're just trying to get to Zenith Flare and win with Zenith Flare. If we can get there through attacking with a big Flourishing Fox or going wide with the Rescuer, that's cool. Sometimes we can get a win that way. But normally, we're trying to just build to a big Zenith Flare. Now, we've also got Lurrus as the companion, because it's pretty much free to add. And later in the game, we can always add this to our hand and then start replaying some of those cycling creatures from our graveyard for extra value. It's free. No reason not to. Now, what sets this part of deck from the old versions is that Kaldheim introduces Dual Strike. Dual Strike is a 2-mana instant, says whenever you cast your next instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 4 or less this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. You can also foretell it and play it for only 1 red mana from foretell. Now, this is absolutely insane with Zenith Flare. Most of the time, pre-Kaldheim, all you need to do is get to Zenith Flare and win, right? A lot of times you're trying to get to 2 Zenith Flares so that at the end of your opponent's turn, you use one at instant speed, and then on your own turn, you untap and you use the other one, and you kill them outright. Now you don't have to worry about drawing into 2 Zenith Flares. And let's be honest, even with only 4 copies of Zenith Flare in the deck, it was pretty consistent to hit your second copy, even before Kaldheim was a thing. So the fact that we now have essentially 8 Zenith Flares in the form of Dual Strike, and that the second Zenith Flare essentially costs us 2 or sometimes even 1 mana is just insane. If we can just foretell this, any time between turn 2 and 4, turn 5 we can play 2 Zenith Flares. Absolutely bonkers. All we have to do is get to Zenith Flare and Dual Strike, and we win. And the fact that the cycling digs us through our deck so darn fast means that the consistency of this is just absolutely nutty. Now, the other addition that Kaldheim brings is some more of the pathways. Now, this might not seem like it matters that much, but the important thing with cycling is you need all of your lands to enter the battlefield untapped, because every tapped land you play is another cycling card that you can't cycle. And the goal is to cycle as quickly as possible to get to that fatal Zenith Flare as early as you can. So every mana counts, and now that we have the full set of pathways, we can play all of our untapped lands and actually have the fixing we need to make the deck work. So we've obviously got 4 Needleverge Pathways, 4 Riverglide Pathways, 4 Brightclimb Pathways, but we have the addition of Blightstep Pathway and Hengegate Pathway. And those are important because they open up the ability to not only play things like Lurrus later in the game with more consistency, but they actually make it a lot easier for us to potentially play Memory Leak or Boon of the Wishgiver as their actual cards. And sometimes you need to. If you're up against a counterspell deck, you can actually rip the counterspell out of their hand with Memory Leak. That way your Zenith Flares will land. Or later in the game when you're running out of gas, maybe they did counter some of your stuff and you need to get there, you can actually hardcast a Boon of the Wishgiver. And the consistency of being able to do this with these additional dual lands just makes all the difference in the world. So it's really simple. Cycle forever, get to your Dual Strike, foretell it, get to your Zenith Flare, play it, Dual Strike it. Even if they counter one of the copies, which will sometimes happen, the beauty of Dual Strike is it copies the spell when you cast it, not when it resolves. Which means even if they counter the Zenith Flare after you play Dual Strike, it doesn't matter. Dual Strike is still a copy, and a lot of times, and you'll see this in the games, that's just enough to get there. So cycling is still insane. It's even better now. Nobody's using Dual Strike with it, and I have no idea why. I don't really enjoy playing the deck because you kind of have to turn your brain off and just go for it. But if you're looking for a way to climb the ladder quick and efficiently, this deck is absolutely bananas. So we got some crazy games coming up. Let's dive in. All right, we're going to take one mulligan. Perfect. We'll toss back Dual Strike because we don't need it yet. We want to draw into that later when we're closer to Zenith Flare. Red. And then we will cycle. I'm not sure if we're going to play the healer or not. We might just cycle. He's playing Yorion. So it's kind of just a matter of beating him to it, so to speak. So it might be better to just cycle and make sure we get to a third land. I think that's probably the way to go. It's probably the way to go. Alright, no luck yet. But that's fine. That's fine. Since he's playing Yorion, I don't think he's playing any counterspells. Most of the Yorion decks try to maximize the value they get off the Yorion itself, so they play permanents. Do this. Cycle. Ping them for 1. Every little bit of damage helps, and every single cycling card that you can get in the graveyard helps. Alright. Playing a backwater. He's definitely playing the long game, which we kind of expected, right? So slam 1 Flourishing Fox. Keep making him have to deal with our board presence, so he can't do other things that gain him value. That's the key. Sure. That's honestly fine. Just keep cycling. Just keep cycling. Gotta get to that land. He does have counterspells, though. So we gotta keep that in mind. How are we gonna get around those counterspells? We're gonna draw into a black land, and we're gonna play Memory Leak. That's how. That is how. He's looking to draw. He is looking to draw. Cycle. Just need to hit that land. Cycle. There it is. Red. And we will cycle. We're going to try to hold on to this Memory Leak. I think it'll be important. So we're going to pass turn. At this point, if he can't stop our Zenith Flares, we can just win. So we need to Memory Leak. And what's cool is we don't have to cycle Memory Leak in order for another cycling card to end up in our graveyard, right? We play the Memory Leak. We get to take something out of his hand or make him waste a counterspell. And then we still get that card going to the graveyard and being another cycling card. Which is important. It's important for the way that the deck functions. So, play this as black. We'll play Valiant Rescuer. Try to force him to have to deal with our board state. We want him to counter it. This he's gonna counter because he doesn't want us. He doesn't want us to see his hand. But he's like, I don't want to waste the counter. No, he's gonna let us see it. Yep. Get rid of the stroke. He can't stroke a Memory Leak. That was well played. Now he has to get lucky. And we'll know if he drew one or not. Because he knows we're ready to Zenith Flare. So if he doesn't have the counterspell, he's going to use the Tome and search for it. Oh, he's just going to play Shark Typhoon. Alright then. He is in a very rough position now. Because next turn we play Dual Strike. If he doesn't counter the Dual Strike, it's going to copy Zenith Flare even if he counters the Zenith Flare. Which means he needs 2 counter spells this turn to stop us. So we've pretty much got it in the bag. Dual Strike just brings so much more consistency to Zenith Flare. It's basically like having 8 copies in your deck. Would you like to counter it, sir? Do you have a negate? Good game. It is ours. The game is ours. Feels good. I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride my bike. We can keep this. We'd like to see some white, but it's fine. We'll cycle the ambush. Get the expensive thing out of our hand first. So we'll play pathway. This pathway is white. And then this pathway is red. Get down Valiant Rescuer. Because again, we just need one creature on the board to gum it up a bit, which buys us an extra turn or two in the long run, so that we can get to where we need to get to with Zenith Flare. See, he didn't get to play a creature. He didn't get to play a 2-drop creature because he had to use his Thirst. Seems fine. Do we continue to do that? Or do we cycle? I think we just cycle. We don't really need the health. At least, seemingly. Just keep it going. Just keep it going. That's 5 in there already. Alright then. We will slam a pathway as black this time. Do we just cycle? Do we play the healer? I think we gotta play the healer so that we can survive. Gain some life, have a chump blocker at some point. Don't think we're gonna need the discard, so let's get rid of the memory leak. Alright. It is possible we use the Go for Blood to just kill something. If he plays like an Innkeeper. But more than likely we just cycle it. Alright, so we're making him use up his turn, dealing with our things, while also gaining a little bit of life, which potentially gets us an extra turn in the long run. And that's everything we want in life. So we're going to foretell this. We're going to cycle. We're going to cycle. And we're going to cycle. So now, he's basically got to kill us this turn or he's done. We've got 2 Zenith Flares coming at his head next turn. And he's not playing blue. Does he have a Tybalt's Trickery? Probably not. Right? Probably not. Cultivates, fetching lots of land. It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. We'll play this. We will cycle a crater. Why did it just use... Okay, it's fine that it used our red, because we're only using 1 red with Dual Strike. We play Dual Strike. For a minute there, I thought the auto tapper really screwed us, but we don't need the double red because it was foretold. There. 2 Zenith Flares on turn 6. I want to ride my bicycle. Good game. Good game. We'll see. I do want to Alright. Pathway. And Fox. I do want to finish some draft stuff. Crack some packs. Need those wild cards. I'm pushing myself to do a deck a day. Starting tomorrow. Like, forever. Just a deck a day. There we go. Draw into the land. Do more cycling. So, 3 cycling cards in the graveyard. 1 of his pieces of removal. Gone. We are getting there. Alright, red-white. We go red. We will play Valiant Rescuer. Then we will cycle Drannith Healer. Pass turn. It's important to try to go wide with something. You want to mostly cycle all your cycling stuff, but you want to get a creature onto the board. Usually either a Fox or a Valiant Rescuer, because you want to go wide with your ability to we'll foretell this. No tax. You want to go wide so that you have chump blockers, because that can make all the difference between buying yourself an extra turn or two to when you can actually get lethal with Zenith Flare. So even though you mostly just want to cycle everything, you do want to find time to slot in a creature. Red. Gross. So. We'll go. What do we want to do here? Another dual strike? Good. Nah. Wait, cancel. Let's do this. We'd hit for 10. Do I want to do that? No. You know what? Let's just set up. Let's just set up. No attacks. Go ahead. Get rid of the Zenith Flare. We just need a land, and then we're going to dual strike Zenith Flare. And I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest. Because I think the dual strike will get copied by the other dual strike. I don't know. We're going to find out. Well, alright then. Trade with Varagoth. He's at 5. It was important to test that, to see how that worked. And even though the right thing to do would probably have been to wait, the combination of him eating our graveyard with Elspeth's Nightmare and us wanting to make sure we could test it before he meddles with the ability to test it was important. Oh, cancel. I'll play black. Play Lurrus. It'll probably just eat removal. And now we just have to start the cycle, no pun intended, all over again. I wasn't sure, honestly. I was thinking that when it made a copy, when the first one made a copy of the second one, that copy might then count as another spell for the second one, and then the second one would copy that copy. I was worried that it would, like, Domino or something? Which was not the case. But I did think the most likely outcome was what we got. But I did not know. I wasn't sure. I know Dual Strike says when you cast the spell in particular. We're gonna wait. We might have something that eats our graveyard. And if that's the case, we don't want to continue to put things in there. We're close. I think we got it. He's going to gain 4 life with Maze Mind Tome, so we need to do 9. We need to keep that in mind. Two, three, 4. Okay, so we'll just go for the Dual Strike. We'll stop cycling. And then we'll go for the Zenith Flare. And we'll get the double. We'll get the double! We're doing the doubles. McDouble. He counters 1. We still get the copy. He has to gain the life. And he had to jump around so many hoops. So many hoops to stay at 2. He had to counter 1 of them and gain the 4 life from the tome. So close. So close.
We are the apex.
Can we get to another Zenith Flare? I mean, probably, right? How many we got? 1, 2, 3. We only have 1 left in the deck. So we probably just try to go wide in the process. I think it's worth it. We only need to get through for 2. We only need to get through for 2. So if we can go wide, we can do things. We cannot go wide. It does keep him from attacking with everything, though. That's not nothing. Oh, eats it. We need to draw the Zenith Flare now. That Nightmare's ready to pop off. Dual Strike! Uh-oh. That's not good. Well, that's not good. Sure. There's nothing in hand for you, Elspeth's Nightmare. We need Zenith Flare next turn now. We need it before he eats our graveyard.
You cannot run.
Although we only need a couple cycle cards in the graveyard, right? So maybe we will be okay, even if he does. Assuming he's grabbing something that either gives him life or eats our graveyard. I have no idea what that might be, but let's see if we can get the Zenith Flare. Ooh, Boon. We don't have 2 blue. Let's keep going. Oh, man. We can't play it. Unfortunately, that's where the train stops. There goes our graveyard. But it's kind of fine. Like, all we need to do is cycle 2 cards and draw into our Zenith Flare. And we have plenty of mana to do that. And a dual strike ready to go. So we just Zenith Flare him for 2 and make a copy for 2. And then, even if he has a counterspell, we're fine? So we go to 10. Moment of truth. This is the turn. This is the turn. Boasting. He definitely only has enough mana for 1 counterspell. If we top deck the Zenith Flare, it's gonna hurt so bad. Cycle. Cycle. Come on, Zenith Flare. Come on. Nope. Cycle. We need to save our white and our red. Alright. Cycle. There it is. There it is. There it is. Come on. There it is. Did we do it? He counters one of them. He can't counter both of them. Suck it, Garuk. Excellent. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. We are pushing hard for that 1,000 subscriber mark, so please consider subscribing. Hit that button. There's a circle in the middle over there. Hit that. Subscribe. Tell all your friends to do it. Thank you. Also, give this video a like so more people can see it. If you'd like more PlayStation and console game coverage, we've got that down below. And if you'd like more Magic the Gathering coverage, there's more of that somewhere off over that way. Do all the things.